The exact date when I came into the world I do not know. It was in the spring, 5 years before the great warlord Takeda Shingen, the ruler of the province of Kai, died. I seem to have had my doubts about the desirability of being born, as I finally had to be cut from my mother's womb. My mother did not survive my birth by more than a few hours, which left my father in a most precarious position. What was he to do with this bloody little piece of humanity which whimpered and cried and claimed to be his son? He was not a rich man who could send a servant to fetch a wet nurse. If such was wanted, he had to find one himself. He wrapped me in a blanket and set forth toward that part of the city of Kofuchu nearest the river. A friend of his lodged there, and he knew that a child had been born in that house a few days before. Aya-san took one look at me, put me to her breast, and told my father that she was not running a free orphanage. He took out his purse, which contained only copper coins, and, peering into it, drew forth one. Aya-san looked down at me, drinking greedily, and held up 5 fingers. With a sigh, my father handed her 4 more coins. "Each month," Aya-san said, slinging me across her shoulder and patting my back until I burped. My father nodded, took one last look at me, then went to see his friend, and invited him to partake in some sake at a nearby tavern. The 2 of them celebrated my birth until my father's purse was as empty as the sake bottles it had purchased. Then he went home to arrange my mother's funeral. I do not know if my mother had wanted me. She may have, but certain it was that no one else did. To Aya-san I was 5 copper coins a month, but also a lot of trouble. To my father I was an expense he could ill afford, and to the rest of the world I was nothing at all. To Aya-san's daughter, Matsu, I was a thief who stole half, if not more, of her mother's milk. No, I was not wanted. But if only the children who were wanted lived, there would be fewer people in this world. Mindless of this, I sucked at Aya's breasts, thrived, and grew fat. By the time I was a year old, I could walk out into that world which did not care about me. The world grows bigger and bigger as you grow yourself. At first Aya-san was all I knew and needed. Then Matsu entered it, for we shared the same corner of the room. We were loyal to each other. When one cried, the other immediately joined in. This resulted either in our being slapped or taken up and allowed to suck. As we grew older and hungrier, and therefore cried more often, we were usually slapped. Soon we learned that crying was not the only way of communicating with the strange world around us. We learned to make noises which were at least sometimes understood by the giants who took care of us. We both learned to talk at about the same age, and also to lie. For to lie is a very necessary accomplishment if you want to survive. Now, lying is not a matter only of using words. Sounds, or even facial expressions may serve as well. In this way, one learns to lie before one can talk. I am sure I was well able to lie before I had understood that sounds could be formed into words. When Aya-san smacked me, I howled as if she were taking my life away, even when it didn't hurt, for I knew that only when I howled loud enough would she stop. Like most grown-ups, Aya-san was a person of moods. What deserved a slap one moment might pass unnoticed the next, or even be rewarded with a hug. Her husband had been a foot soldier until an arrow in his leg made him lame. He became a seller of charcoal, a fact that only a blind person might miss, for his face, and most of the rest of him, was as black as his wares. Our house was near the river. It was very small, and built from timber the charcoal seller had bought when an old house had been torn down. Sometimes the houses built nearest the river were